And so now, before we get to the Reverend, I would like to introduce to the stage our band, Peter Hurley and Second Shot. Name your price, a ticket to paradise. I can't stay here anymore. I've looked high, no. I've been from shore to shore to shore. If there's a shortcut, I've found it. There's no easy way around it. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Who knows why? Someday we all must die. We're all homeless boys and girls, and we are never heard. It's such a lonely, lonely, lonely world. People turn their heads and walk on by. Tell me, is it worth just another try? Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Now sing church. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Light of the world, shine on us. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I can't see you, but I can hear you. It's wonderful to be with you today. Thank you so much for being here. It's just been a joy to be part of the amazing co-creation process with your team, with your congregation, and with all of you in prayer. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to facilitate this very beautiful process of calling in your next minister. It was a joy to watch your community come together and do the deep and important work and set the consciousness for your new minister. I want to acknowledge the Genesis community, the practitioners, the ministers, the board of trustees, and the co-creation committee. I acknowledge the team of people that's
Can't hear you. You're muted. Muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you to all of you who contributed to this process with your intention and your prayers. It was just a joy to be with all of you and to witness this process unfolding for your community. I was impressed by your organization, the team communication, and the team partnership. Thank you, Dave, for sharing that quote about the co-creation process and for your beautiful prayer to pray us in. This is an all-encompassing process on many levels. And so my intention today is to share with you about the experience and to reflect where you are now in the process and what is yours to do. So on Saturday, February 19, congregants came together to participate in the first part of the process and to learn and share the principles of co-creation. And there were two main themes for that day. First was the power of group agreement, and the second was to have a new real experience and to have a new realization out of that experience. And so as we began to do the work of the co-creation process, we honor the understanding that we all carry within us a minister inside. And it is formed out of the past experiences. There's pluses and minuses. We tend to outpicture the experience we had before. We see a new minister through the filter of our former beliefs. We tend to project those to any minister that comes into our space. And so there's a tendency to recreate that experience over and over again. And so what we did, one of our processes, was to upgrade that experience. People went within to think about the experiences they had or associations they had with ministers in the past. The upgrade process allowed us to come in with an up-leveled idea. So we did healing work with the Fear to Faith process to understand that what happened in the past, the experience from the past, and to how that has guided us, and to bring it to the present moment. And then we were able to bring it up and release it with our releasing prayer. And so this was a very important healing process, and it established the foundation for the co-creation team that met the following weekend. The following weekend, this past 2 days, we met Friday night and Saturday. And I want to acknowledge the co-creation committee members and for their dedication. Anna Hawthorne, Cynthia Zink, Cal Boyle, Jim Munson, Dave Pennick, Kelly Gooden, and Vicki Pate. The group worked not without you, but on your behalf. They were invited because they represented different segments of your community, and they were committed to being present to do the work. I was so moved by their commitment and their willingness. So what was revealed out of our work together is a sacred covenant. This is not a wish list for a new minister. It is a list of spiritual attributes which are really about a spiritual vision for your new minister. What is crucial is that we have to embody and realize within us the qualities that we want to experience in a new minister. We have to acknowledge and embody in ourselves what we want to bring forth. And so your group did that. Your group did great healing to bring forth the sacred covenant with that idea of being that we attract what is like our thought. So this group worked very committedly on your behalf. This is a powerful time, an important time in the life of your community to welcome in your new minister. And so each one of you has played a part individually and collectively to come into this sacred moment. So we are here to welcome newness. The sacred covenant is intended to create within you the experience of your new minister that will help call that person to you. You will notice that some of the statements are written in the first person as I am statements. And what is really important for you to embrace and embody is that which you wish to attract. This is pure science of mind. We have to have that mental equivalent inside of us in order to attract what is like our thought. This is a very mature spiritual experience. I think often what we want to do is to fill out an order form to the universe, right? Please, God, provide this person just the way I want him or her to be, right? But actually, we worked on a much deeper level, and all of us are working on a much deeper level in this process. It is about becoming that which you would like to have in your new minister. Only what we experience inside is what can manifest on the outside. We say that truth known is demonstrated. So the covenant we are about to read declares how you see your experience of a new minister unfolding in time and space. In other words, how Spirit is going to move through you to call into the space the new minister who will love you and serve you and support you in your divine unfoldment. So wherever you are, I invite you to read this sacred covenant. There is only one life. This life is good, this life is God, this life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to reveal Spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as love. I further know that my new minister, fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, I dwell in the house of love. Love attends me in my home of the soul. I shall never leave this home of the Spirit. I shall abide in this home forevermore. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as revealing the truth and power of love. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself, for I am powerfully expressing divine love, inspiring me to do the same. I am blessing and honoring all paths of spirituality, awakening deeper truths and spiritual growth. I am a place where God shows up, expressing divine love, allowing truth and joy to heal all. I am embracing, teaching, and exploring spiritual truths from diverse spiritual teachings. I am teaching and embodying prosperity, trusting that God is the source of my good. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will glorify God and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful. God is gracious. Amen. Thank you, everyone. You have just spoken your new minister into being. You are formerly in a time of change. You have been in a time of change, but now it kicks up a notch. So I have 3 invitations for you. First, to come into agreement with each other around this sacred covenant that you just read. Sacred means holy, and covenant means agreement. Allow yourself to align with the words that were spoken here. Let your heart say yes. There's a space on your form to fill in 2 of your own personal intentions. Write them as an I am affirmation. Write them as something that you claim for yourself out of this experience, for newness that you call into your life. It's done in that I am form, because it's important for you to affirm that which you want to experience. And the covenant is written as an I am statement, again, so we will embody each of these statements. This is not about ordering up a minister who will do everything you want them to do. But it is about co-creating together a new experience that is very different from what most people expect this to be. This is very deep and very spiritually based. Every moment of this process was surrendered to Spirit for the highest and greatest good. So you are invited to come into agreement and read this every day. Post it somewhere where you can see it. Say yes. As the group speaks this together in group mind is when things begin to happen. Every Sunday you will be reading this during your service. You know, it's very easy in a time of change for people to pull in different directions. But this is a wonderful opportunity to stand together around a greater good that you are accepting. The second is to honor the mystery of this process. You are not where you were, and you are not where you're going to be. It's not how it was, and it's not how it will be. Dr. Kathy Hearn calls this being firmly planted in midair. It is like a little bit of free float, but there's a firmness of spiritual connection under you. You are standing in deep faith. You are in a process that leads to the revelation of your new minister. In reading this covenant, there is already an energy and a message and a vibration that is going out. And somewhere, there is a minister or ministers who are receiving the inspiration that it is time for a change, a time to step into something new. It's a mysterious and mystical process that's all about oneness across time and space. You are calling in a new minister who will be the exact right one for you. And your job is to be in this free float and enjoy the mystery of the moment. Enjoy the feeling. Take one step at a time. That's all you can do, is take the step that you are on. Our human personality wants to see what's ahead, right? But we can only take the step we're on. And so the Sacred Covenant is the guide. And every time you read it, you let your heart say yes. As you add your own personal intentions, it's personalized for you. And that will attract the best person for your community. I invite you to embrace the words of beloved teacher Emma Curtis Hopkins. She says, "There is good for me, and I ought to have it." There is good for me, and I ought to have it. And so the third thing is embrace the change. Here's the thing. We are very clever beings, us humans. We have interesting ways to resist change that we know it's going to happen anyway. I realized several years ago that I love change, but I didn't want anything to be different. Can anyone relate to that? Sometimes we like change as a concept, but not so much as a reality. But everything is always in a state of change, right? It's important to let that in, to open our hearts and our minds to newness and to let change happen. As you see yourself and experience yourself is an open place, you can reveal newness right within your heart. An open place receiving this greater good of a new minister coming across time and space to love and to serve you. For me, that brings up the contemplation of what kind of mind do we bring to change? And there are two stories I want to share with you. One is the parable of the sower from the Gospel of Matthew. Do you remember the farmer went out to sow seeds, and some seeds fell by the wayside and the birds of the air devoured them. Some seeds fell on stony ground and shallow earth, and plants sprang up, but the sun scorched them. And some had no root at all, so they withered. Some of the seeds fell on thorns, and the thorns grew and choked the plants, and there were no fruit. But some seeds fell on good ground, and the plants grew, and the fruit increased 30, 60, 100-fold. So this parable is teaching us about our minds. What kind of mind do we bring to change? The wayside mind is hard and resistant and impenetrable and is stuck in the past and does not let anything new to take root. The stony soil is a mind that has a little bit of awareness, a little bit of soil for the rooting of the plant, but no spiritual practice. So there is nothing to deepen the growth. The plants sprout up, but they wither and die from the heat of the sun or the heat of life. The thorny ground has deep, ripe soil, but it is the kind of ground that is filled with negativity, with criticism, that chokes off anything new that wants to sprout. And then there is the good, deep, rich soil in which the mind is open, creative, and allows newness to take root and begin to grow. The question for each one of us in any kind of change is, what kind of mind are we going to bring? Are we willing to bring to change? And then the other story is the Zen story from the East. And I'm sure you've heard this before. There's a student that came to visit a famous Zen master. And the Zen master began to make tea. And they sat at the tea table, and the master was boiling the water and putting the cups, getting the cups ready. And the student began to talk and talk and talk and talk some more. And all the while, the master was patiently making the tea, and when the water was ready, the student was still talking. But the master began to pour the tea into the very small cups. And as he continued to pour the tea reached the top of the cup and was overflowing. However, the student was still talking. But the student suddenly, with the water overflowing, the student finally stopped. His eyes got really big, and he jumped off of his chair, and he said, "What are you doing? The cup is full." And the master said, "How do you expect me to teach you anything? Your mind is already filled with what you think you already know." Two different stories from two different traditions, but they're really about the same thing. How open are we? Are our hearts and minds open for change to happen? Newness wants to take root here. This is a deeply loving and caring community with a huge sense of compassion. You have a commitment to living a spiritually based life. Now with your sacred covenant, you have a roadmap to having open, fertile soil and the ability to empty your cup. Open, fertile soil and the ability to empty your cup. Be open and receive all that Spirit has to offer. Allow the seed to grow in fertile ground. Your selection committee is working to create a candidating packet with all the materials that are necessary. All this information will be published on the CSL website. This is where ministers go to look for open pulpits. Your sacred covenant will be there along with your materials. And as people apply, they will read your covenant, and your covenant will call them to you. Your committee will receive those who apply. They will interview them and invite those they think will meet your sacred covenant and who will be an excellent match and partner for your community. They will be invited to speak on a Sunday and do a workshop, and there will be a way for you to vote for who you want. So soon, your new minister will be here. This is your opportunity to trust the process. Trust the prayer, trust the newness, trust your leadership. You have remarkable leaders here that are very committed. In the meanwhile, read your sacred covenant on a daily basis. It is your spiritual practice to create the fertile ground. Every time you read it, your heart says yes, and you will be deepening in the consciousness in order to call this person forward, this person who is in alignment with all the things stated. The opportunities here are quite wonderful. That along with this process of bringing in someone new, you are going to be growing and changing and expanding in consciousness. Prepare your open mind and heart to do the consciousness work. Keep your eyes on the good you have claimed. That there is the outworking of the consciousness. So, let's just bring this into prayer. So, just recognizing again that there is just one life. This life is good, this life is God, and this life is the life of each one of us here and the life of Genesis Church, Center for Spiritual Living. What I know and accept across time and space is that this message has gone out. And as we read this covenant, the message has gone out. There is a light and an energy, and that ministers are receiving the inspiration to submit their application. I know that each member of this beloved community has been opened up to something magnificent that is being revealed. It is taking place in the hearts, in the minds, in the souls. I know newness is revealed in amazing ways. That this process is mediated by Spirit for the highest and greatest good. So I accept for each person in this community that something greater is revealed in their lives, that this newness is an expansion of goodness. I know for this community that as the hearts and minds are open, that this new minister is coming forward, and all the while that there is newness and expansion and growth. There is an embodiment of truth taking place. How grateful I am for this sacred process. How grateful I am for the willingness here, for newness, for growth, for spirit, and for love. That the quality of God that has been chosen is love. And so I know love moves through every cell, fiber, tissue, gland, organ, nerve, and bone of each body here. And everyone who's watching and everyone who's connected. I know that Spirit is moving in and that change is happening. There is an up-leveling and an inspiration coming forth with ease and grace, with love and light. How grateful I am for this goodness, this newness, and for so much more. I know this community is blessed as you walk forward in love and light, in freedom and in grace, and most of all, in love. And so I release this word, absolutely knowing that this word is already demonstrated in the mind of God, absolutely knowing that this word is done. And as I release it, I set it free, and together we affirm and say, and so it is. Blessings.
Oh, yes. Let me walk through the banks of the river of love, where the Spirit runs so deep, baptized in the water, where there's no hesitation, and truth is all you see. Honoring all our differences, and love will set us free. Father God, there's a healing going on. Father God, there's a healing going on. Father God, there's a healing going on. I say, oh, you rock my soul. I say, oh, you rock my soul. Let's forget about the past. It's time to requalify. Time to forget your love and forgive God. No! Oh, you rock my heart. So